Hello people of YouTube, my name is Brad, this is my channel Adam and Orange, and this week in 3D metal model news. Honestly, when it comes to new models, there really isn't much to talk about this week. Fascination's website, MacLeod's website is the same. We're still waiting on the 4 Mandalorian models, which really not expecting anything until January or later. And then the other 2 models that popped up recently, I'm not expecting anything there either. I will say, I did recently resubscribe to Disney Plus. I found out that there was going to be an actual live action version of Ahsoka Tano, and I was kind of excited about that. So that was what it took to get me to resubscribe and start watching season 2, because I finished season 1 of The Mandalorian and watched a few other things and canceled my subscription. But wow, the latest episode that came live yesterday, wow. How about that Razor Crest? If you haven't seen it yet, I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but something, the latest episode had some loss. Let's just say that. It had some loss. Can't wait until next week. But nothing new from Fascinations, nothing new from Peace Cool, nothing new from MU. I did look around AliExpress and found one thing on the Crazy Toys AliExpress store, and it's probably also on the crazytoys.co.uk. I did not honestly check that out, but probably. I had talked last week about an Iron Star Snow World model. I didn't find it myself. Somebody actually sent me a link to it and talked about it, and I couldn't find it without searching for it on Crazy Toys site. This week I am seeing it listed as one of the new models, and I also saw the Iron Star Beijing Shaiyan, probably saying that wrong. Beijing Siheyuan, I think is how it was spelled. And it's another one of those kind of realistic models with the grass and the trees and the foliage and whatnot. Comes with the craft stuff to make it all happen. It's another one of those lines of models. It really looks awesome. All of these Iron Star models with the ponds and lakes and grass and trees look really cool. Gonna have to try one of those myself one of these days. But the Iron Star Beijing model, I'm not gonna try and say that last name again and murder it. It's J52207. The finished size is 13.6 by 9.1 by 5.5 centimeters, or 5.4 by 3.6 by 2.2 inches. 5 sheets. The sheet size are 22 by 11 centimeters, or 8.7 by 4.3 inches. 7-star difficulty. It's about $38 on the Crazy Toys AliExpress store, and I'm not sure if it comes with an LED, but like the other one does. I think it does kind of look like it might. There's a picture of it where it's kind of lit up from the inside, so I'm guessing it does, but I cannot verify that at this point. But that is the one new thing that I'm seeing this week, and other than that, I did see that the MU Starboat is available on AliExpress in a couple of different stores. I talked about that last week. This week I am actually seeing it for sale. Beyond that, as far as models are concerned, that's pretty much it. Getting towards the end of the year, so I guess everybody's got out what they've got out and hoping it'll sell for Christmas time. But there is something else I do want to talk about this week. Reddit user Resilient390 posted in the Metal Earth subreddit a link to some 3D files for some model bases that they had created and they wanted to share. And I thought it was very interesting. Someone who has a 3D printer, and I actually did work on some model bases at one point, but never got very far with them, and it kind of abandoned it. Just didn't continue to work on the project. But I was working on some magnetic bases, and I've got one around here somewhere. Honestly, not sure where I've put it. No, actually, I think I see it over here on this metal thing. I used a big disc magnet and embedded them in a 3D print, and some of them are loose, and yeah, a little bit loose. Basically, I left a cavity in there, told it to pause right before it covered the cavity up, slipped the magnet in, and let it continue and print over it. And the idea being, we have one of the newer designed ones, just a circular base with a little bit of a an edge, a feathered edge to it, or cambered or chafed edge, I'm not sure what the term is. The idea was that the magnet inside would hold on to the metal base of your model and keep it from easily falling over. And a lot of the early Metal Earth models had very unstable bases, so that's why I was making it. But as Metal Earth continued on, their models got more sturdy, and there became less of a need for the bases, and just I got busy with other projects and it just kind of fell apart. Plus, it doesn't work as well as I'd like it to. It will eventually fall over. It's not as strong a connection. The big problem being because this is a band and the metal is, it's like the majority of the metal is kind of raised above it. It doesn't grab but so well. So I never finished with that. Anyhow, Resilient 390 did create some customized models, mostly for the spacecraft. It would seem they've got, I think it's 5 bases thus far, and I will include a link to both the Reddit post and to their My Mini Factory site where they've shared the STLs. So if you have a 3D printer, you can download these STL files, use whatever slicer you use to slice the files so that you can 3D print them, and you can print these for yourself. They have a Creative Commons license, so you're able to share, you're able to make modifications and share those modifications. It is asked that if you share it publicly, you say who created it, and you're not supposed to sell it and make money off of it. It's not your design, it's Resilient 390's. But they have 5 bases so far. One of them is a Saturn V and Apollo CMM with LM, so it's like a base for a combination of models. I did try to print that one, but the print failed, and it failed like before I had to go to work last night, and haven't had the time to retry the print. The Saturn V and Apollo CMM with LM, it's actually 6 different parts to the print. And the description: a base to display Metal Earth Saturn V and Apollo CMM with LM models. There are 4 holes on the bottom side of part A to put 3/8 inch or 10mm adhesive felt pads. There are also 2 holes for 3/16 magnets inside the stand on the right, part E. To assemble the parts, you will need 4 M3 bolts and nuts, and that's what I found fascinating. The print actually has spaces that you can slide in a little nut and then a hole for you to run a screw and screw it to that nut. It's very similar to how they do the parts of my 3D printer, and probably a bunch of other things out there where you use the nut and screw to hold the parts together, and they have basically a hexagon shape for the nut to go into so it fits and doesn't turn. So I really wanted to print and assemble that and just show that off because I thought that was really neat, even though I don't have either of those models yet. I don't have them yet, don't have them built. I do want to eventually print them all just to see them. I do have the Kepler spacecraft. I did print that one. That one's 2 pieces. The description is: a base to display Metal Earth's Kepler spacecraft model. There are 4 holes on the bottom side to put 3/8 10mm adhesive felt pads. There's also 1 hole for a 3/16 magnet. Dimensions 50mm by 50mm by 18mm. And I did print that one. I've got the 2 parts here. And it comes as 2 parts. I printed it as 2, and I'm assuming that this slides into here. I mean, it kind of shows it together on the display on the website. But I didn't print them together. I print them apart, and they're not quite fitting. So there's some clearance issues I need to resolve. Probably could have just fused them together and printed them together, and that would have been better. Hindsight is 20/20. I will also add that I decided to go with gray because I have gray and I never use gray. Well, the reason I never use gray is because gray always gives me problems. And I've tried like 2 or 3 different brands of gray, and they always give me problems. I don't know what it is about gray. I can't print anything in gray. This didn't even print flat. But you can see on the bottom it has the spots where you can put, and I got them around here somewhere, little felt pads. I bought a package because I do want to put them together. So these little felt pads will fit in these holes, so it has a nice soft you know, it sits nice and soft on whatever surface. And this centerpiece, which I'm assuming the Kepler spacecraft sits on that, I notice it has a tilt, and there's a hole that I'm assuming the intention there is to push the magnet up through into that hole. And the top layer, you can't really, you're not going to see it on camera, but the layer covering that hole is quite thin. You can see light through it if you look up the other side. It's not how I would have done it. I mentioned before how I set the magnets in. I would have left a space and then stuck the magnet in at the last second and let it print over it. Though that might be a little bit more challenging the way this model is angled. Don't have this right size magnet. I might find it, put it together, but the magnet I'm assuming is there to hold the model on, similar to what I was doing. I do want to print these. I was hoping to be more prepared for today's video. It just didn't work out that way. I am going to try and print them and set some of them up, because I do have the Kepler spacecraft. They have there's also a Voyager one. A base to display metal Earth Voyager models. There are 4 holes on the bottom side to put the 10mm adhesive felt pads. There are also 2 holes for the 3/16 magnet. Gives the dimensions. There's the Hubble telescope, and I have both Voyager and Hubble telescope. 2 parts in this one. Base to display metal Earth Hubble telescope model. 4 holes in the bottom for the adhesive felt pads. 2 holes for the magnet. And then we have the Mars rover. It's just one piece. It's a base to display metal Earth Mars rover model. 4 holes in the bottom for the pads again. Nothing for the magnet. It just basically has indentions for the tires, so the model just sits in there, and there you go. That was the next one I was going to print after the larger one for the 2 combination models, but I haven't gotten that far. I switched to brown in color because the brown tends to print properly, and then it failed too. Something came loose and the printer actually crashed, and I just haven't had time to resolve it. But stay tuned for future videos, because I do want to print those out and check them out, put them together, and maybe display my models, because I think that's really cool that someone has printed those or designed those and shared the files so that other people with 3D printers can print those and display their model as well. So thank you very much, Resilient 390, for sharing that on the Metal Earth subreddit. I noticed it didn't get a lot of comments, but yeah, so check that out if you're interested. And if you don't have a 3D printer, maybe you can find somebody that has, or I would say check your local library. That's how I got started. A lot of libraries are closed right now because of the pandemic, which is unfortunate. There's some vinyl cutting stuff I wanted to do that I haven't been able to do. But, you know, we got to be patient and try to work our way through this difficult time with this pandemic. Wear a mask, social distance. You know, none of this is 100%. I hear people touting how if masks work, why are we doing this again? Well, 2 things. Masks aren't 100%. Neither are condoms. You got to use it, and you got to use it right for it to work. If you're not wearing your mask right, if you're not covering your mouth, covering your nose, wearing the right kind, no, it's not working. It's not always going to be 100%, but it's a tremendous help, and it works better if everyone does it, and everyone's not wearing masks and or wearing them properly, and that's why they're not working. Don't get me started on that. I really wish people would just quit griping and do the thing. It's not that hard. Don't tell me it's that hard. I work in a hospital. I wear these masks for 8 hours plus a day around tons of people that do. I get it's not the most comfortable thing. I get some people have a more difficult time with it than others. But when you're around people, just wear the damn thing. Just wear it. It's okay. It'll help. We can get past this rather than continuing struggling with it. Anyhow, gonna start preaching here. Don't need to do that. Back to the 3D bases. Unfortunately, there's only one picture, and it's kind of a 3D rendering of the finished model on the My Mini Factory, and I'm a little disappointed at that. I'm hoping Resilient 390 will upload some more pictures in time. I tried to show you some of the stuff that I have, because I did download them. I did slice them in my slicer. I tried to take some screenshots of the top and bottom sides just to share with you today. I am going to try and print them and take pictures and share more information in the future. It's going to take me some time I'm also trying to catch up with my own Etsy store, because I basically sold out of almost everything, and been trying to play catch up with that. But yeah, more to come on that. Sorry I don't have more now, but thought that was really cool. And this point is where I would usually talk about a question of the day or read a comment. There is one comment from last week's video that I do want to read, because it kind of explains something that would clarify something that I didn't completely understand. Last week I had talked about the hippocampus model, which basically looks like a starfish, or excuse me, a seahorse. I don't know why I said starfish. It's a seahorse model, but they labeled it the hippocampus, which when I hear that term I think of a part of the brain. And will I won't I on YouTube commented and helped clarify what's up with the name. And they said hippocampus comes from Greek hippos, horse, plus campos, sea monster, and was their name for seahorses. It's also a region of the brain shaped like a seahorse or a horseshoe, depending who you ask. So it kind of makes sense. And I didn't quite realize in the pictures that I saw and what very little I knew about the hippocampus portion of the brain, I didn't realize that it can kind of look like a seahorse. Google it yourself, you'll see a bunch of different pictures. You may take you a minute to find one that looks, I did find one that compares it, a hippocampus piece with a seahorse, so you kind of can see it. Saw plenty of images that did not show that, so I didn't realize it. But thank you, will I won't I for clarifying that, and I thought I would share it here. Just seemed like an odd choice in names, but now it kind of makes sense. And that's pretty much all I have for you this week. Not a lot going on. I was thinking that perhaps things are quieting down because the Chinese New Year is coming, but from what I've asked and understand, the Chinese New Year this year is going to be sometime in February. So, you know, when that time comes, you'll notice that all the shops on AliExpress kind of close down and go quiet for about a week. Nothing new comes out. Some shops just completely go on vacation. Just not much happens. Even Metal Earth is affected by it to some degree, because their stuff comes from China originally. You know, their models. These models do come from China, even though they're Metal Earth and they come through the U.S. They are originally coming from China. So that's going to be a slowdown come February. We'll have to keep a lookout for that. I think last year it was more mid-January, but the timing of it changes a little bit every year, my understanding. I have to keep an eye out for that. It is the beginning of a new month, so I do, as always, want to take a moment to thank my Patreon supporters for continuing to support this channel. I do want to thank Chris Paskowich, George Bell, Hugh Morrison, Jay, James Herring, James Stalker, Kaj Nielsen, Kamal McCoon, Ken Crowan, Kendall Fargo, Laurent Palm, Mon Hong, Phil Miller, Seth Bell, Shalyn Moody, Timothy Green, and Timothy Vogel for your support, for continuing to support this channel. Thank you very much for that. If you do want to become a Patreon supporter, there's always a link to my Patreon to the end of this video. All the money goes back into building these models, back into doing this channel. And having said that, I will say that I haven't been building models as much as I was now that I'm back working full time. So there is a little bit of a surplus building up financially. And what I think I'd like to do is get some more gift cards and do another giveaway for Christmas. I'm still working out the details. I have asked CodeWookie if he would be willing to help, because he can easily set up a website to go enter in the information so that we can do a drawing. And he's agreed to, but that's as far as we've gotten. So keep an eye out for a Christmas gift card giveaway, because I'm working out the details to do one here soon. I think that'd be really cool. I've got the funds to do it since I'm not building as much right now. Let's just make a happy Christmas. Let's try to end this miserable year, this year full of difficulty, on a happy note. and do a little bit of a giveaway. Stay tuned for that. Thank you to Patreon supporters for continuing to support this channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Resilient390, for sharing those 3D printable files. I think it's really fascinating. I'm going to leave it at that. As always, keep on keeping on, and I will see you next week.